All right. So folks, with us today are Albert and Michael Reyes McCarver, and they are the founders and partners in Champlain Islands Candy Lab. And I'm very pleased to be speaking to both of you today. Thanks so much.
No, thanks for having us.
So tell us, how did you come to make candy up in the Champlain Islands? What's your background and why would you want to do such a thing?
Well, we both worked in Manhattan, and we took vacations every year for, I guess, maybe over 10 years to southern Vermont. And then we decided we liked it so much we would explore the rest of the state. And one day we took a wrong turn and ended up in the Champlain Islands, and just basically fell in love with it and ended up buying a home here and commuting basically on the weekends every weekend from Manhattan to Grand Isle, where our home is. And then the company that we were working for was bought out by another company, and our positions were eliminated. So we had about a year or so of severance, and we spent that year deciding what it was that we wanted to do and what made us happy. Because we decided we love the community here so much that we did not want to move back to Manhattan. So we stayed here, and it was actually Albert who came up with the chocolate idea, which was the original sole idea. And he can tell you a little bit about that.
I decided to use my time somewhat productively. It was a bit like quarantine, actually, but in a positive way, because I actually got to do things and be out, and I had so much free time. But it was actually an opportunity to really rediscover something that, you know, we all both had a background in science from our previous careers, and we also had an interest in food. So I went to school and got a degree as a chocolatier. And then he basically kind of piggybacked with me and learned along the way. And then we started to sell to farmers markets. And that's really how we got our start, was through the local community Champlain Islands farmers market up here in Grand Isle on Saturdays. We also started doing mail order, and that was for a number of years. And then, as Michael described, when that other situation transpired, we really shifted gears and focused in on learning on the chocolate, developing our skill set. He has skills in baking. We've since expanded. We can talk about the business at large, but it was really great opportunity through the farmers markets, though, to build what we feel is now a community-based business, because we really worked with and know our suppliers really well and intimately. So
we developed relationships with the farmers. We try to have our products follow the market through the year in the summer. And then we have some basic standards that we carry through for the winter and some other things. But one of the things that I just wanted to say right up front is that we are so incredibly thankful to the community here in the Champlain Islands for taking an interest in two guys from Manhattan. I originally am from the South, like you, which you may hear come through a couple times in my accent.
I'm not.
I'm sorry.
I considered myself to be a Manhattanite after that, and now I'm a true Vermonter. But as I was saying, the community has done everything they possibly can to help support us and to encourage us and promote us, and we are just so thankful to them.
Yeah, that's really great. Great to hear. Great to hear. So, so where do you get your ideas? I noticed that you have a lot of different kinds of candies. Where, what is your inspiration for your confections?
I can give you one now, and then I'll let Albert give you some. For example, just not 20 minutes ago, I went to one of the local farmer stands, and I needed strawberries, and I was late for one of the gelatos that we make, and they had raspberries, and I thought, well, raspberry lemonade sorbetto sounds great. So never had it before, never made it, but I'll make it tomorrow morning. It's just a lot of it's just a spur of the moment thing, what we think might work well together.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, other things are inspired just by the palette of the bounty of what's around us, you know. And that's one of the great things of being here that I'm not used to. So I totally grew up in an urban environment. I'm from Jersey City, New Jersey. I mean, you can't get more urban than that, the sixth borough of New York. And, you know, so for me, this is a total second life, you know, learning a different way of living. And so to take advantage of, a good example is blue cheese and honey caramel. Because, well, we have Vermont blue cheese and we have great honey up here, and why not highlight those local providers? So I think as much as possible, that's what we've built the brand around, and that's what the idea is here. Even the room we're in right now is actually called a community room. We actually don't sell anything in this room. It's a larger room. It has books and games in it. And pre-COVID, it was a place just people could come. We offered free Wi-Fi, and just customers could come to relax. And so we really have built the brand and this idea of this company around the community, as Michael said, because it's given so much to us. And I think without it, we wouldn't have been inspired to build what we built.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes sense. So what is it like to run a business in the islands? Is it more difficult to, you know, to ship things out, or for you to get your ingredients? I mean, you use a lot of local things, but you must have to buy some things from other places. Does it present particular obstacles to be where you are?
Well, I'm usually the one who does the shopping.
That's
and go to the different farms and also into town to buy things. It had previously been extremely easy to get everything we need, but with COVID, you know, supplies are limited. Without any type of national leadership, the supply chains that we relied on are forcing us to either change recipes or in some cases 86 products altogether that we normally do. And then other things that the community really likes, products that they really like, we've had to switch to much higher cost raw materials and ingredients. And to be honest, some of them we just don't even make any money on. We're just keeping them because our customers like them, and we're hoping that one day all of this will be over and we can go back to making some money on things.
Yeah, and on the end, I mean, he handles more of the manufacturing goods, and I handle more of like the supplies and the PPE, the customer service. I run the front of house, the gloves, the hand sanitizer. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, Michael's point about federal leadership. I mean, you know, PPP was great. I mean, I fired myself so that we could keep an employee. Like, so we could keep him employed because it was really important to him. We employ a local resident who also happens to be deaf, and he taught me sign language. And we're actually on the news tonight, so I'm kind of excited about that. A little segment about us and how we work together in COVID. But to keep him, we had to make some sacrifices. And on top of those sacrifices, these increased costs that never existed before. And then the sourcing of things like gelato cups, which used to come from Italy, that we liked because they were 100% biodegradable. We've had to make the sacrifice that we would not make environmentally, because otherwise we can't get it in time, or it's so prohibitively expensive now that the sheer idea of getting it would be to sacrifice things that would otherwise not be good for the business.
And while we were thankful for the PPE, the issue with that was
The PPP.
PPP, I'm sorry. We followed the rules as they were issued in the original bill, which meant that 75%
Yeah.
of the funds had to go to paying our employee to keep him employed, to keep him on while we were closed. Which actually, to be realistic about it, he would have been better off going on unemployment. And us
Had we
using,
realized.
and us using the money for the company. And then we come to find out towards the end of this that other companies just held on to the money because they either knew or suspected that the rules would change.
Yeah.
And the rules did change, and you're allowed to be forgiven if you use it to just help with expenses around the company. Because one of the things that's been missing from this, and I think maybe a lot of small business owners are not in Congress, we needed money to supplement lost revenue. We didn't need money to pay the employee because we work with him anyway. It's a different story, but it would have been so much simpler and so much more useful to us if someone had said, what were your gross revenues last year? Here's 25% of that for this year, even though, go ahead.
Well, it was disingenuously useless, the person who manages payroll, because the demand wasn't there in the beginning. The real thing would have been to put our employee on unemployment because we were closed. So in order to meet our 8-week demand, we're paying 40 hours a week because, according to the original PPP rules, when we were approved, we had 8 weeks to use that. And if we didn't use 75% of it within 8 weeks, it converted into a loan rather than a grant. So we were locked. And so basically we were paying him, which I love paying him, but there was no real demand and work being done during that period. It was the idea, because if you remember, the original political intent was to retain the employee. Yeah, I get it, but the business as an employer, I see no upstream benefit of keeping him employed at that point, and he doesn't either. I mean, he would have benefited, to his point, better from the employment deal given what was given out through the relief package.
And basically, the thrust of it all was we basically received, and nobody did, as far as I know, as far as I know, received compensation for lost revenue. And that's the main thing we need. And right now, being here in the Champlain Islands, during the summer, the majority of our business was Canadian tourists. And the borders closed. And I don't blame them. But, you know, that's something we have projected a 50% growth this year. And we are probably at 1/3 of what we were the year before. This is only our second year in business. So we didn't hire any extra help. We're doing it all ourselves. We're extremely tired. We've been up since 5 this morning. And right now it's 5:32 p.m. And we still have things to do. But it's just been upsetting to learn about large companies that were able to get millions and millions of dollars, and we weren't even to receive just some sort of relief to get us through a time of clear, demonstrable lost revenue.
You know, and then add on the Canadian thing, the camps as well.
Right. All right. Well, thank you so much. That's really important for me as an elected official. I mean, I'm a state official, you know, so I wasn't involved in the federal stuff, but it's very important for us to hear how this actually affected small businesses. So thank you very much. I've learned a lot from you. And
well, I'm sorry. I would like to say one more thing about the state program, and I'll let Albert say that.
So, the most recent release of the state program came out with a minority-owned business relief package. I happen to be a Puerto Rican American, so when I found out, unfortunately, we have a 50-50 partnership. I don't qualify because that 1% seems to rule me out. And then, of course, I asked, I said, pushing a little further, I wrote in good faith, asked the question, well, my husband being a gay male, does that make him a social minority? That somehow we can sort of triangulate that without me having to go to a lawyer, which doesn't make sense. And we don't want to do that and mess with how the equity of the business is shared. Does it, didn't work out.
So I'm as LGBTQ man, I'm not considered a minority. And as a minority, since he owns 50% and not 51%, we do not qualify.
Right.
Oh gosh, wow. Yeah, that's rotten. Okay, well, interesting to hear also. Right. I'll keep that in mind as I can maybe do something about that actually. So thanks for telling me. And well, yeah, we consider, I'm LGBTQ myself too, and we generally consider social minorities in a lot of legislation. So yeah, I will thank you for telling me, and I will see what we can do in future. But yeah. But thank you so much for what you're doing in the community up there in the islands. And like I said before, your stuff looks so yummy online. I think I'm going to make a trip up there very soon.
Is there anything else you wanted to ask us or find out from us?
No, that's great. That's really helpful. And no, I really appreciate it.
We look forward to making you a coffee and having some toffee. Maybe some
Sounds
baked
great.
goods. All right.
Sounds great. I love it. All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.